All right, friends and neighbors, I decided to do an extra bonus video this week, but it's more of a wrap-up video to talk about some of the big issues and then point you in some of the right directions. So, as the title slide says, we got problems in networking. So what do we do with them? The problems that I'm talking about specifically are a couple of really big ones with addressing and with routing tables, but we've talked about these a couple of times before. But because there are so many videos, I thought I'd point you in the right direction. So first up, RFC 4632, classless interdomain routing, sort of outlines all of these particular problems. And so 4632 tells us that there are three main problems. The exhaustion of the class B address space. This is fundamentally caused because of all the growth that we've had. So we've been out of IPv4 addresses for quite a while, and this is specific to Class B, but for about a decade now, we've been officially out of IPv4 address space. That's it, no more. Now, another problem, of course, is the growth of the routing table. As more and more folks, more and more networks join the internet party, the routing tables of core internet routers has exploded. I'll show you Podaroo.net. Is a very fabulous site that keeps track of all this stuff. But you don't have to believe me. Let's see what 4632 has to say. Now you can see right at the top here, we've got that this comes from 2006. Now this is an update, but here we go. I guess we ought to point out that it says right here, in November 1991, the Internet Engineering Task Force created the ROAD, Routing and Addressing Group. And they met in 1992 and came up with these three problems, right? The exhaustion of the Class B address space. Okay, so we got Class A, B, and C that we allocate for hosts. And the other problem is that Class C is very, very small. Class A is enormous. So this leads to very inefficient allocation of the space. Problem number two, the growth of the routing tables on the internet. And then finally, we were eventually going to run out of all addresses. So those are our three problems that were pointed out by the ROAD, and we see them written down in RFC 4632. Okay, well, here is that internet routing table size. These are core internet routers. And again, this comes from Podaroo.net. And so the last year here is 2020. They've got updated versions out there now, but we can see that in 2020, this is 800,000 right here. And so we're well beyond that. So loss of the address space, inefficiency of the address space, huge growth in internet routing tables. Okay, so what do we do about it? Well, historically, there have been three sets of solutions, and I have done videos on all of them. So that's really what this is about, pointing you in the right place again. The understanding masks is a really, really important part of any networker's life. So I've done a whole bunch of stuff on masks, and so you can pick that up anywhere you want, whether you're interested in subnetting or supernetting or what have you. But how do we tackle this? So if you're interested in routing, then you probably want to take a look at the aggregation part and how we shrink routing table size by manipulating the masks, variable length subnet masking, aggregation, things like that. If you're just trying to understand how to allocate addresses, then maybe you start with subnetting. But certainly if you're getting started, then you've got to look at IPv4 and how the whole masking thing was set up. Now, the two things that sort of go together are network address translation and IPv6. And the reason that I say they go together is because there's been a lot of push to get started with IPv6. So that is a whole other set of RFCs and a whole other set of ideas. But one of the reasons that it hasn't caught on is because of the success of network address translation. So let's take a quick look at that. So if you were to go out and read about NAT, you would take a look at RFC 3022 or 3022, and it shows you this basic idea that you've got a wide area network connection, like your ISP, and then you've got your home network with your NAT router. Okay, now we translate addresses from the inside to the outside. I'm not going to talk about how that works today. That's why I did the video series. But what we'll have to remember is that there's another RFC that goes along with that, and that is RFC 1918. These are the private addresses. And so if you were really, really jazzed about understanding network address translation and the private addressing, that would be the two RFCs that you would look at. And we can see right here, the internet has grown beyond anyone's expectations. Sustained exponential growth continues to introduce new challenges. Okay, so we've got this idea that address space is running out. So network address translation was introduced as a short-term solution to mitigate that. Then, of course, we have IPv6. And IPv6 is a new version of the Internet Protocol designed as the successor to IPv4. So this would be RFC 8200. So there's an awful lot in this RFC, but this was supposed to be the long-term solution. So why aren't we doing more IPv6? And that was because of the success of 3022, at least in part. So there you go. I just wanted to remind you that you have resources when we start to look at things that are happening today, why we do things the way that we do. There are some very real stressors on our internet addressing and our structure and why we do things the way that we do. And then we've got some solutions. Some have been adopted more universally than others. Well, thanks for watching this short little reminder video, solving or at least addressing problems with CIDR, NAT, and IPv6. So the big ones were address depletion, inefficiency of that address space, and the routing table size. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe if I pointed you in the right direction for the videos that you want. I will provide all of the videos in the show notes so that you can choose the ones that you're most jazzed about. And whether you're tackling subnetting or supernetting, aggregation, routing table size, next generation IPv4, or trying to understand how that wireless home gateway works, may those packets always reach their destinations.